My name is Carl Peterson. I've run for the LAUSD school board twice now. The first time, I would say that the effort was successful in that there was a slate of 3 of us who ran against Tamar Galatzin, who is a charter darling and heavily favored to win, and we pushed her into a runoff and then into a loss. So it wasn't me who won, but I supported Scott Schmerlson, who was the person who beat her, and so that went well. Then as we approached the last election, I saw that nobody was really stepping up to run against Monica Garcia, and she is another pro-charter darling, and didn't want her to run unopposed, so I actually moved into East LA, and I ran against her. The charter forces ended up spending $650,000 for her to win. That was against my 4,000, and there was one other person who entered who had 13,000. So even with that, we kept her to 56% of the vote. We came very close to forcing a runoff. There was a couple of other candidates who were supposed to enter the race that didn't get enough signatures. I think if either one of them had entered the race, it would have been a different result. Also, if the union had backed somebody, that probably would have made a huge difference too. They stayed out of that race and just couldn't get traction, when you do it. And at 56%, any one of those things could have changed the results, and probably would have changed the results for the entire election, because the fact that we didn't force her into a runoff forced Zimmer. They could spend more resources against Zimmer, and I think that helped in his defeat. So to continue on, the NAACP report on that listening tour is excellent, and if you haven't read it, there's a lot of great information, and it's something that's sorely missing in that it wraps up a lot of data of what the charter industry as a whole is doing to our public education system. So what I've had the opportunity to do is to actually look at one school and its effect and see where we can go with that. So the question I get asked a lot is, you're obviously anti-charter, you've been strongly anti-charter in your races, but your children have gone to a charter school. And that's basically because they took over our school. We live in the same neighborhood that we're like a mile and a half from where my wife grew up. She went to Granada Hills High School before it was a charter school, and so now our children do. Kind of the last 2 we kind of try to dissuade from going, but that's where their friends go. They want to follow their friends from middle school to high school, and I wasn't going to force them not to. Right? So they've been there, and but it gives me a unique perspective in that a lot of cases in charters, if a parent complains, they kind of force that kid out, and so they can't do that because I'm a neighborhood kid, it's a conversion charter, they have to take my children. So it's not that they haven't tried. My son, I got a call from the dean's office one day. We have your son down here, he's not following the rules. So, well, what did he do? He was wearing a hood. Oh, well, where was he wearing it? Well, between classes. I'm like, so outside. Like, I'm on lunch right now, and I'm walking, and I have a hood on because it's raining. Well, it's against the school dress code. But it's against the rules. It's a stupid rule. Well, I know that, but we have to enforce it. What I found out when I talked to my son later is he actually went all out radical and not only refused to take off his hood, but refused to turn over his ID. And so they told him, we're a charter school. We can get rid of you. And I'm like, no, they can't. So I've gotten a unique perspective. But I'm also on the Northridge East Neighborhood Council Education Committee. And so that committee meets at the Northridge Academy High School, which is 1.7 miles from Granada. So we're basically in the same area. And we decided to take a look at what effect this giant charter, they build themselves as the biggest charter in the country, what effect it has on a neighboring school. So we looked at the numbers. Special education at Granada Hills Charter High School. This is 2012 to 2013. They had 6% of their population. Northridge Academy, 14%. English learners, Granada Hills Charter High School, 3%. Northridge Academy, 8%. Homeless students, Granada had 0. Northridge Academy had 7. And it's a much smaller campus. Free and reduced price lunch, Granada Hills Charter High School, 49%. Northridge Academy, 65%. So in every one of those categories, the public school is forced to deal with a higher percentage and, of course, a higher cost. So we looked, why is this happening? And I looked on the website. So right there where the public can see it, they have enrollment requirements for Granada Hills High School that break either the rules or, in some cases, the law. Requiring that parents provide multiple copies of their utility bills in order to attend. Well, homeless children are supposed to have a right to go to the school where either they were formerly before they lost their residence or where they're currently living. They can't provide a utility bill. Asking for a birth certificate or requiring a birth certificate before they're enrolled. Also, that provides information about national origin, and it's discouraged by the charter school division. So what do you do with that information? Well, because charters are considered by law to be their own district, I had to file a complaint with the school first. Not surprisingly, they wrote me back and said, we're not in violation. Now, some of the bigger problems that they had, those suddenly disappeared from the website. Matter of fact, now the website actually has a tab that says if you're homeless, click on this button, this is how you apply without the information. I don't know that if you're homeless, you necessarily have access to the internet, but okay, so they complied on that. So the next step you have to do is you file an appeal with the state. Now, interestingly, the state has a commission that kind of looks at things and gives them recommendations. The principal over at Granada heads that commission. So the state denied the appeal. Said they'll fix the problems. It says it in the thing, if there's any problems, they'll fix it. So where do you go from there? I mean, some of these are federal issues, so I guess I could go to the feds, but I don't think Betsy DeVos is going to really care. So we're back to the school board, which is now run by a charter majority. So I brought this information to the charter school division. Of course, they did not reply. So I went to the school board directly. They call up the head of the charter school division. He says, I've never heard of this. Of course, I then gave the charter school, the school board, copies of all my correspondence, proving that they lied, but that doesn't go anywhere. I eventually got a letter from the charter school division saying, the state already denied your appeal, there's no problem. So now I focused on one particular issue. In the charter, in the actual charter for Granada, it has a line in there, and I think it's kind of boilerplate because I've noticed that it's in most charters I've looked at. Granada Hills Charter shall not request or require submission of a student's IEP, 504 plan, or any other record or related information prior to admission, participation in any admissions or attendance lottery or pre-enrollment event or process, or as a condition of admission or enrollment. They're requesting the IEP on their website. There's no doubt that they're in violation. So I found out that there is a way under state ed code for the public to require the school board to put something on their agenda. So that's been my next step, and we'll see where that goes. I've put up forth a resolution that states that not only does the charter school division have to issue a notice of violation, but they also have to look into how much this has cost the district and figure out how to recover those costs. So that is where I'm at right now in my activism, and so far they haven't, the only response I've gotten is it'll be heard by the committee of the whole, but one committee of the whole has gone by and it wasn't on there, so we'll see how long they can ignore me before I have to figure out what the next step is.